If someone had told Kate Middleton that one ordinary morning would become the beginning of the hardest chapter of her life, she wouldn't have believed it. After all, life in the royal spotlight had already thrown more curveballs than a championship tennis match. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared her for the moment a quiet knock on the door shattered everything she thought she knew. Have you ever had a moment so surreal that your brain couldn't process it? Where the world suddenly feels louder and quieter at the same time? A moment where your heartbeat becomes the soundtrack of your own shock? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. That's exactly where Kate found herself in this fictional drama, standing in a sunlit Kensington Palace hallway, holding a letter that carried words no wife should ever read. The kind of message that turns your knees into water. The kind of message that doesn't just break you, it rearranges you. This story, though fictional, invites readers into a deeply emotional, raw, and human exploration of love, loss, resilience, and the complicated realities of goodbyes. Told in a dramatic documentary style, it dives into what happens when someone who is always strong for the world suddenly has to be strong for themselves. And let's be honest, royal or not, grief doesn't discriminate. But how did Kate process it? What did Prince William say? How did their children react? How do you prepare to say goodbye to the love of your life? Let's walk into this emotional storm together. And fair warning, every section of this story will pull you deeper. Because sometimes, the most heartbreaking goodbyes are the ones you never expected. The palace was quiet that morning. Too quiet. Kate would later say it felt like the air itself was holding its breath. When she opened the letter, white envelope, official seal, red-edged border like a warning sign, you could almost hear the world stop. We've all had moments like this, haven't we? Moments where one sentence pulls the rug out from under you. A phone call, a diagnosis, a goodbye text you never wanted. A moment where time splits into before and after. For Kate, after hit like a tidal wave. The letter didn't mince words. Doctors had found a rare, aggressive condition in William's last routine examination. A condition that progressed rapidly. A condition with no promising treatment options left. The words "he won't make it" sat at the bottom of the page like a cold, merciless whisper. The kind of whisper that steals your breath. She reread one line at least 5 times, hoping, begging, the words might rearrange into something else. But they didn't. Because life doesn't always bend to hope. Sometimes it breaks instead. Still, even in devastation, Kate did something deeply human. She denied it. She folded the letter neatly. She put it down gently. She smoothed her skirt like everything was normal. Because sometimes, pretending nothing happened is easier than letting the reality in. But reality always finds a way. And it was waiting in the next room. Curious what happened when Kate finally walked in to see William? Well, she didn't expect what he'd say first. William was sitting by the window, sunlight hitting him like a halo. Almost symbolic. Almost unfair. He looked up with that familiar half-smile, the one that made the world believe everything was under control. And before Kate could say a word, William said something so, "William, before you panic. Yes, I know I look this handsome, but no, that's not the diagnosis. A joke. A terrible one. The kind meant to anchor someone who's drowning. Because humor, even dark humor, is often the first defense when life throws something unbearable." Kate's eyes filled instantly, not because of the joke, but because she saw the truth behind it. The tremor in his hand. The exhaustion beneath his smile. The unspoken fear hiding in his eyes. "Well, how long?" she whispered. He hesitated. And hesitation is its own kind of answer. "I don't know. Months. Maybe less." Silence. The heavy kind. The kind that fills every corner of a room. But then William reached for her hand, his thumb brushing her knuckles gently, a small gesture that suddenly meant everything. "You don't have to be strong right now," he told her. "Not for me. Not for anyone." And that broke her. Because, ironically, those words were exactly why she had to be strong. Ever been in a situation where someone you love is hurting, and suddenly the roles reverse? Where the strong one becomes fragile, and you become the anchor? That's where Kate found herself. But strength wasn't her only challenge. The next question hit her like lightning. What about the children? George, Charlotte, Louis. 3 children. 3 hearts that trusted their parents to keep the world steady. How do you shatter that trust gently? Kate spent that night pacing the long palace corridor, replaying conversations in her mind. What do you say? How do you wrap something so devastating in words a child can hold? You can't, but you try. The next morning, she gathered them in the drawing room. George sat quietly, always observant. Charlotte watched her mother with uncanny intuition. Louis just wanted to sit in his father's lap. Daddy is very sick, Kate began. Not too detailed, not too vague. A careful balance. But children have a way of cutting through the surface. Is he going to get better? Charlotte asked. Kate's throat closed. She looked at William. He took a breath, steady, gentle, almost angelic. I might not get better, but I'm here now, and I love you more than anything. Charlotte burst into tears. George clenched his jaw, trying to be brave. Louis looked confused, then hugged his father tightly. William held all of them at once. A moment so pure, so painfully beautiful, that it deserved to be frozen in time. Here's the part that hits hardest. In that moment, Kate realized she wasn't just losing a husband. The children were losing a father, a future, a million small moments. But William had one request. Let's make whatever time we have a memory they will treasure, not mourn. And that became their mission. But time waits for no one, especially not someone fighting the clock. So what did they do next? Instead of retreating from the public, William made a bold decision. No hiding, no shutting down. Let's live. And so they created their version of a goodbye tour. Not the royal kind with crowds and ceremonies, but a quiet, deeply personal journey through the places that shaped their love story. Stop 1, St. Andrews. Where it all began. Where William first saw Kate walking across campus and thought, she's the one. In this fictional retelling, they walked the grounds together, hand in hand, remembering the early days of laughter, exams, cheap noodles, and stolen kisses. Stop 2, Anglesey. Their first home as newlyweds. Small, windy, imperfect, and perfect. They sat on the beach at sunset, wrapped in blankets, watching the waves crash like time itself refusing to slow down. Stop 3, their favorite secret getaway spot. A small cottage far from cameras and headlines. Here, Kate cooked William's favorite meal. Here, William read bedtime stories to the kids. Here, they danced in the living room, slow, quiet, knowing. Because goodbyes aren't always grand. Sometimes they're soft. Sometimes they're whispered. Sometimes they're held in the spaces between heartbeats. Of course, their peace didn't last long. Something unexpected happened next, something that changed everything. Despite their efforts to keep things private, rumors began swirling. Paparazzi noticed fewer public appearances from William. Royal reporters whispered about health concerns. The internet began its usual avalanche of speculation. Until one morning, a single photo leaked. William, frail but smiling, holding hands with Kate on a quiet walk. Within hours, the world exploded. Is William okay? What's happening to the prince? Kate looks devastated. Is this the monarchy's saddest moment yet? People across the globe sent messages, prayers, artwork, letters, videos. Some shared stories of their own losses. Others simply said, "We love you." It was overwhelming, heartbreaking, beautiful. Kate realized something profound. Grief doesn't isolate. It connects. Because loss, fictional or real, is the most universal experience of all. And yet, one question loomed, heavier than the rest. When would William say his final goodbye? One evening near the end, William asked Kate to sit with him in the garden. The sky was pink. The air smelled like lavender. And something about that moment felt final. Promise me something, William said softly. Kate nodded, tears already rising. Promise me you'll keep living. Not just surviving. Living. Her voice shook. How can I without you? William smiled that gentle smile. Because you have more strength than you think. Because the children need your light. Because you've always been my anchor, and now you'll be theirs. Emotional. Human. Raw. The kind of conversation that stays with you long after the story ends. They cried. They laughed. They held each other. They said everything and nothing at all. A goodbye wrapped in love. The night William passed, in this fictional narrative, was calm, peaceful, tender. He was surrounded by love. Kate holding his hand, whispering memories into his ear. His last words? You made my life worth living. Kate kissed his forehead, held his hand until it grew still, and whispered back, I'll carry you with me. And she meant it. The palace announced the news the next morning. The world paused. And for Kate, a new chapter began. But not one defined by loss. One defined by love, resilience, and legacy. Whether you're royal or not, whether your partner is a prince or a plumber, one truth remains. Loss doesn't end a story. It transforms it. Kate, fictionally in this narrative, discovered that saying goodbye doesn't erase the love, the memories, or the impact someone leaves behind. If anything, it makes them shine brighter. And if you've ever lost someone, or feared losing someone, or struggled through a goodbye you weren't ready for, then you know exactly how this feels. Because grief, as painful as it is, reminds us of one simple thing. We were lucky enough to love deeply. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of someone, touched your heart, or simply gave you a moment of reflection, share your thoughts. What part resonated with you the most? Have you ever faced a goodbye that changed you? How did you heal? What advice would you give someone going through grief? Your story might be exactly what someone